Okay, if I walk around and I say, I'm perfect, the world is perfect, and the whole thing, I'm lying, right? Because it isn't. Let's say, if the world is perfect, how come the Mashiach isn't here? How come the world looks the way it is, right? So it isn't perfect. So the thing is like this, the deep, deep thing in the world is that everybody has something inside, deep, 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 which is wrong with me, but not wrong in a way that I can't correct it. On the contrary, I'm born to correct it. That means if God sends me to this world to correct it, most probably He gives me the tools to correct it. Just gotta know what to do with it. And that one thing which is deep, deep inside, hidden, which I don't want anybody to know about it. See, like a little underground. Everybody's a little underground. Deep, deep underground. This is where it's at. And this is what I have to correct. You see, in a lot of things, I'm already there. In a lot of things, I'm still on the way. So the Ishbitzer says generally, in that one thing which I haven't corrected yet, this is where I'm still on the way. I'm not there yet. So it says, Zocher Teshosu Lecha Amalek, remember what evil did to you, but derech, on your way, when you walked out of Egypt. You see what it is? I walked out of Egypt already, so I was not a complete slave anymore. I was already a little bit good, right? But I was not on Mount Sinai yet, right? So what's happening? Amalek attacks you between going out of Egypt and between arriving on Mount Sinai. This is where Amalek gets to you. You see, it's like this. If a person, and you have to know something very, very strong also, take a low creeper, somewhere a little playboy, he doesn't give a damn about anything. Basically, evil doesn't really bother with him, Evil doesn't attack him, because he's completely uninteresting, Evil also looks for a challenge, right? You're already out of Egypt, you're on your way to Mount Sinai, it's your merchandise for you, I want to turn you off. But you're still in Egypt, imagine. A person doesn't want to go out of Egypt, I want to live there, I want to be evil all my life, So, stay where you are, who cares, give it that. The Gemara says something very strong, that evil leaves everybody behind and attacks only the Talmidei Chachomim, those who are learning, the holy people. Because evil, okay, to get a little shmendel should do something wrong, it's nothing garnished, Somebody's on the way already, you really want to be, you're learning, you want to be good, you want to be close to God. Evil says, no, I won't let you. So, the thing is like this, we all know what it means. There are moments we're getting out of Egypt, right? Something's happening to me right now, I'm walking. It's a very high level, basically. If I'm on the way, it's a very high level, because most people didn't even leave Egypt yet. I left Egypt, I'm on my way. On there, suddenly evil comes to me. You know what evil does? Evil tells me, don't kill yourself. You'll never make it to Mount Sinai. You won't make it. Look at yourself, you're fooling around, you think you left Egypt, you're walking on your way to Mount Sinai. Whom are you kidding? I know you better. So what evil does, it makes that little evil which I have not corrected yet, makes it so big, that I'm nearly giving up to go to Mount Sinai. So he says something very deep. Whenever God opens the gates for us and a great light is shining, at that moment evil comes. Until God opened the gates, evil didn't bother with us. Okay, you're there, who cares? But God is shining a great light into me, something happens to me, I'm really spiritually awakened. I'm on my way, I'm going. Then evil comes and makes it very hard on you. And he says something very, very deep. Because basically, you have to realize one thing. Taking you out of Egypt is not your own doing. God took you out of it. You can't get out of Egypt on your own. It's a gift from heaven. Something happens to you. God's giving you freedom. Like everybody in his own little Egypt wherever I'm, God forbid, I'm a complete slave. You cannot free yourself on your own. And you know, everybody knows if I'm ever a little bit awakened spiritually or on mamish on a holy level, it's got just a gift from heaven. Mount Sinai, again, is just from heaven. You know? The in-between. This little space, the in-between, between Egypt and Mount Sinai, this is where my free choice is. My whole range of free choice is not to get out of Egypt, or not while I'm standing where near Mount Sinai. My free choice is this little, those few inches between Egypt and Mount Sinai. And this is where my free choice is. And this is where Amalek's standing there to cool me off. He says, listen, brother, whom are you fooling? You know, you can't make it. And they have to work so hard. So he says, what is the greatest evil? Amalek says, Amalek takes away all my courage. I'll ever make it. That's what evil is doing to me. So he says, "V'zoisai israshlus nimshach tomit Amalek." This, you know, israshlus means I just don't have the courage to put everything into it. I'm schlepping myself. Yeah, I'm going to Mount Sinai. But you know, when I walked out of Egypt, you know, the way I was walking, gewalt, right? Then evil comes and says, listen, brother, cool it, you know. And every day I'm walking slower. I'm still schlepping on the way, but it's not with fire anymore. But then listen to this. And then suddenly he says something else to me. First it cools me off. And then evil says to me like this. Listen, brother, let's be honest. Out of Egypt you couldn't go on your own. God has to do it. Stand on Mount Sinai, revelation of Mount Sinai, God has to do it. So why can't God take care of those few inches between Egypt and Mount Sinai also? What do you have to break your bones for? If God wants you to be holy, He'll do it for you. You know, you just play it cool. That's also be a level of revelation. You know what? Evil comes to you and says like this, that basically your own free choice, you really don't have free choice. If God wants you to be holy, He'll make you holy. But you're on your own. Listen, I know you slap me. You're nothing, right? And then he says something else to you. Utmost to purify yourself completely, again, is in the hands of God. Like which really is Mount Sinai, complete purification. A human being cannot purify himself completely. So God has to purify you. If He is to purify you anyway, so why do you have to work so hard on it? You know? Let God do it. But it's not true, because God only purifies me after I did utmost everything I can do, to the utmost that heaven knows I can't do anymore. If I walk the way as much as I can walk, then God talks to me on one side and gives me the rest. But if I'm not walking, then nothing happens. No, this is something very strong. What do you do with Amalek, with that evil? You know what you have to do? You have to get angry at yourself. Anger is a very bad thing, right? At others. At yourself. Very strong. Amalek, you cannot wipe out evil by talking sweet talk. You have to get Amalek and Mamish, get angry at him. Angry at him. And he says in a very strange way that don't work at that moment on purifying your anger. Purifying your anger you'll do later. Right now, just get angry to the utmost. See, what do you want of me? You're destroying me. Your mom is destroying me. It's all your tricks. Your mom is destroying me. I went out of Egypt. I'm on the way. I want to become better. I'm on the way to Mount Sinai. I want to get higher and higher. And you stop it. What you do to me, you stop it. Got to get angry to the utmost. This is the war with Amalek, you know. The war, mamish a war, you know. Fighting with weapons. My weapon with Amalek is anger. Basically, anger is not so good, right? Because he shouldn't have weapons. But there are moments when I must have weapons. Strong weapons. You got to be like Moshe Rabbeinu took 400 the greatest heroes. Holy heroes, right? So you have to take that part of you which is strongest, right? Okay, let's say for instance, every Yidel has something strong in him. Let's say for instance, I'm strong on Shabbos. So I take that part of me which is strong on Shabbos, and this little part of me which is Shabbos starts yelling at all those parts which are not so strong yet. So what's going on there, you know? Okay, what is Amalek doing to us? The Gemara says, as long as there's Amalek in the world, like something's covering the face of God. You know, everything is there, you know? You know what it means? God's face is covered, the face of everything is covered, right? You know, you talk to a person, their face are covered. You hear them, you talk to them, and you see them, but you don't see the face. The inside, the real thing, right? The essence. Let's say, for instance, Amalek doesn't mind if you keep Shabbos, but put a little something over the face of Shabbos, you know? Don't get to the essence. You want to be a Jew, you want to believe in God, it's very sweet, but not the face. Everything, Amalek covers the face. So the thing is, when we came to the Holy Land, and this is very strong, the first one who was told to wipe out Amalek was King Saul, who was from the children of Rochel. What is the holiness of the children of Rochel, Yosef and Binyamin? Their holiness is that the Mamish never did wrong. You know, Yehuda, if some of you could remember, Yehuda was always doing wrong. Yehuda is about tshuva, right? Yehuda is about tshuva, he always returns. Yehuda has the strength of returning. Shaul, Yosef, Tzaddik, the holiness that never did wrong. So who's the first, which part of me is fighting that Amalek, the first one? There has to be one little, you know, a little Yosef. Everybody has something. That part of me which is completely whole yet. You see, Amalek you cannot fight with broken vessels. It's the saddest thing in the world. Amalek you have to fight that part of you which is completely whole yet. But on a whole level, for all of Israel, you see, Amalek comes to you and says, you're not a Jew anymore. You're lost anyway. You know, I know you. So then you come against Amalek, you have to fight with that thing of you which is still whole. I'm not. You tell him I'm not a Jew anymore. I am. Completely. Right? Amalek says to you, you're a broken vessel. You're this and this. Then there has to be one little part of you which is whole. So this is standing up strong. And says to Amalek, you're wrong. You're lying. What's the holiness of a king? What is a king doing? This is very beautiful. He says, who can make the borders wider? Let's say Israel goes till here. Every Yidel would say, okay, you know, suddenly Israel goes to here? No. According to Rambam, according to Jewish law, in order to make Israel bigger, a king, you know. Or all of Israel, but anyway, all of Israel is a king, on the level of a king. It means the king says, Israel's only till here, Israel is still here. You know, the saddest thing is a Yidel thinks I'm already out of the borders. I'm not a Jew anymore. I'm out of Israel. I'm out of the borders. So here comes the king and he says, you're wrong. Borders go till here. You know, wherever you are, you're still inside. You know? It's very, very deep, you know. That means that part of me which has never been broken is so strong that can go over to that part of me which is completely sad and broken, destroyed. It says, brother, you're still in it. You're still part of it.
Well, what if he doesn't identify himself as a Jew anymore?
So what can then he's not? Then he's still in Egypt, right?
Then he's still in Egypt, and
Yeah.
he's not a Jew, is he?
He's still a Jew, but he needs. You see, right now we are already like advanced sickness, right? You see, when to take out of Egypt, then we learn when it comes to Pesach. You know how to get out of Egypt if he wants to stay. You know, I don't know. And it's a very hard case, right? But Purim is for those who left Egypt already. Amalek. The whole thing of Amalek is, you see, each holiday has its own medicine, you know? Like every holiday is a marketplace. On Pesach, I'll buy medicine how to get out of Egypt. If God forbid I'm still there and I don't want to get out. So, I'll pump myself full with matzah. Maybe that'll get me out of Egypt, you know? Amalek, Purim is a holiday. If I left Egypt, I'm a little bit on the way, but they gave up on me. I think I'll never make it.
But if a man doesn't identify himself as a Jew anymore, then the community doesn't identify him as a Jew either, does it?
Why not? Who's the community? Which community?
Jewish community.
I mean, who? Mr. Max Rosenthal, who's the executive director
No, I
of
mean,
the... It has to be on the level of the king.
Were where the Jew
I
was.
know, you know, but it has to be like King Shaul, you know, a king, this holy king who has the holiness of Yosef HaTzadik, who has the holiness of this completely holiness which has never been destroyed yet. See, Yosef, the holiness of the children of Rachel is that they're so strong, they never did wrong. Yosef never did one thing wrong in his whole life, which is complete unbroken holiness. He mamish has a holiness of Abraham, Isaac and Jacob in its completeness. And this Jew who has this holiness completeness can walk up to a Jew who just thinks he's out. He says, listen brother, you're still in. Or I, in my own way, that part of me which is strong can walk up to that part of me which is broken and say, you're still in. That's what I'm doing on Purim, you know, I'm expanding my walls.
I guess I'm asking another question.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
asking if a man says, or a woman says, I'm not a Jew any longer, even though he's born a Jew, he's not a Jew anymore, is he?
He still is, because he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Even if he's converted to another religion, he's still
Because why does he know? I'll tell you something very strong, you know, without hurting anybody's feelings. You know, those sweet Jews meet. One of them says, you know, I converted because, you know, I couldn't make it go. My name was Moshe Lekon. I couldn't make it go, so I converted. Now my name is McKinley. Rich. The other one says, you know, in those days in Russia, you know, I wanted to be a professor at university, but as a Jew I can't make it. Converted. Now right now I'm top man at the University of Moscow. The other one says, I converted out of conviction. The other to look at him and says, listen, you're among Jews. You know, I mean, who are you kidding? You know? I haven't seen it yet, you know.